Sahana Vavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Sahaviryang Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. To chapter 5, Sannyasa Yoga. This chapter I will make more relevant by asking the question, how do you let go of things? Because we often speak of letting go of things, but the question is then, what does it mean to let go of things in a healthy manner? And to what degree do you let go of things? And what do you mean? Do you mean let go of external things or let go of in terms of changing your relationship to things? So how do we, in a healthy manner, live in a world of busy, while still being able to, let go of things and kind of treat them without too much, giving them too much importance or avoiding them for any purposes? So this is how I will frame chapter 5 while still sticking with the teaching. And now chapter 5, as we said, topic of renunciation. And again, I will say this, topic of the art of letting go in a healthy manner, okay, while still living in this world. So verse 1, Arjuna Uvacha, so he asks, Sannyasam karmanam Krishna, punaryogam cha shamsasi, yachreya eta yorekam, tanme bruhi sunishchitam.
Arjuna said, Krishna, you praise renunciation of actions and also karma yoga. Tell me definitely that which is the better of the two.
Okay, it's a fair question. So you can replace these two with anything. You tell me X is okay, Y is also okay. Which is better? You tell me that A is okay, B is okay. Tell me which is better for me, because let's face it, Arjuna is a busy man. You're a busy woman, so you just kind of want the best for yourself, and that will give you results quickly, but still give you the benefit of whatever the benefit is implied. So he, in a sense, Krishna says, he praises knowledge, self-knowledge, but on the other hand, he also praises, which Arjuna has a conflict with, karma yoga, the path of performing actions for the sake of helping yourself live a more mature life. And now the question is this is the contradiction. So on one hand, the ultimate, it's all going towards knowledge, because if you look at anything in life, then you would see that whatever makes you good in anything, whatever makes you succeed, whatever makes you, even reverence or devotion, it requires a certain level of knowledge. If you just devote to a deity, if you don't know what the relationship between you and the deity is, then it's a fruitless devotion. So there has to be some knowledge percolating your transactions with whatever you're dealing with. Now, so then by that logic, you then say, well, if it all leads to knowledge, and ultimately the knowledge of reality, the knowledge of now, what is happening right now in this moment, this person, who is this person? What's the truth of this person? What's the truth of this world? If it all resolves into that question and that answer, then Arjuna is now objecting, which is a fair objection. He says, then why go through this long roundabout way of first telling me to go act in the world, where I have to sort of get, into this, conflicts and, have a tussle and hustle with people and go through all these hardships, and only to come back and then say, ultimately, action cannot really help me, in terms of this journey. What can really help me is self-knowledge. So why should I go through action? Why should I go back into the world and get through all of this trouble? Why not just sit down and give a time of quietude and study with a teacher and let that knowledge take hold and problem solved, and then I can go back into the world. So why not like that? So it's a fair question, and therefore then which is better, right? Which is better? Is it karma yoga? Is it the path of going to the world and maturing up, or is it self-knowledge? Tell me definitively which is better. So if you can listen to Arjuna's words, what is he doing here? He's saying, which is better, this or that? right? This is the method how we think. It's either this or it's either that. But is Krishna ever going to answer a question like that? It's either this or it's either that. Or it's a in between. There's something in between. It's more than just meets the eye. Yeah, it's going to be more. So he says, in both cases, they lead to moksha. They lead to the highest goal. However, for one person, for you, for instance, karma yoga may be more advantageous because the way that you live your life is you are busy and you're kind of, involved in so many things. You have children, you have house to pay back, mortgage, you have kind of things in this world. And some of us who are in a position of retirement, and you may not have as many duties anymore. Your children have left. Your wife and husband is kind of into their own, world, but you're still together. So you still have a lot of time to be with yourself. And so for you, sannyasa, the full path of self-knowledge may be valid simply because you've already lived life. You've already gone through a lot of hardships. You already kind of figured that thing out. You don't need to go back into so much, mind purity mode. Your mind is already decently healthy. So for you, sannyasa may be much healthier. So the point is, you cannot quite say, tell me definitively which one's better ultimately. The question is, which one is better for me? Not for everyone. For you, something may be better than for me. So that's why Arjuna says, which one is better for me? Now, Krishna is going to answer and give that message to Arjuna. Verse 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nikshreya Sakara Vubhau Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate.
Sri Bhagavan said, both renunciation of action and performance of action as yoga lead to liberation. But of these two, the performance of action as yoga is better than renunciation of action.
So he is definitively giving an answer to Arjuna, and he's saying karma yoga is better. However, this will be refined later. We will add nuances. So he's starting in a language that's easy to understand. Like, definitively tell me which is better. Karma yoga is better. Now let's look at the shades of gray. So before you speak about karma yoga and sannyasa, because that's the two topics being brought up, the path of karma yoga and the path of letting go in a healthy manner, sannyasa. Okay. Before you talk about them, and both of them are for the sake of moksha. Okay. So what leads to both of them? What leads to karma yoga and what leads to sannyasa? That's the question. And you cannot teach them without talking about dharma. Dharma is the basic common sense principles of how to live. So suppose that you live in this world looking for security and for delights in life, as we all do. See, food is a delight, having a stable job is a delight, traveling is a delight, visiting your friend is a delight, knowing that you're in demand, right? That somebody needs your services, that is a delight. So all these things are very important. However, suppose you pursue artha, sense of security and pleasure, without proper guidance, without a sense of fairness for the world. So what might that do for you? Well, we already know. We know that it's going to bring you a certain kind of consequence in life. It's going to bring you not only a sense of hiding, you have to now hide from the society. If somebody asks you, what kind of a person are you, then you have to give them a message for the sake of appearing, in a positive manner. But inside, while you're saying that, you know that this is not true. I am kind of taking shortcuts. I'm not an honest person. I'm hurting people. I am I have stepped on somebody's toes without really apologizing. So all these stories about yourself, all the while on the outside, I have to tell people that I'm a good person. I have to present myself in a professional manner. So what this does is it creates a split, a conflict, because nobody can get rid of that program that's talking to you and saying to you what it means to be a right, a fair person who, is there to, make other people's lives, wonderful in whatever manner you can. That program never leaves you, and it cannot leave you because it's just inbuilt in all people. However, while it's there, then you have to keep on telling yourself a story how you're a good person and how the reason why I kind of cheated is because, and then you fill in the blank. So all these things create that inner split, and it makes you, not very easy to be with yourself. So you end up being this person, and people can say they got a very smiley face, but on the inside, you've got a little bit of that, push and pull, that, resistance with yourself. So you have a fight with yourself. So therefore, it's not an easy journey to live in a sense of pursuing security and pleasures, but doing it in a way by being unfair to the environment, to yourself, to other people. It doesn't work. So suppose then you figure this out and you have thus realized that you're not following Dharma for God's sake. If God is like, I don't care that God's going to punish me, the fact is I'm going to suffer. So that's very clear to you now. And it's clear to you that, I want to be a person that feels wonderful about myself, that is confident, that I can put a face that is true to what I know inside, and I'm congruent with people. I'm congruent with the world. Who I am inside is who I am outside. And there's nothing more satisfying than having that congruence. Okay? So suppose you have that congruence in your life. And even then, you say, I am following security and pleasures, and I'm doing it in the light of principles, but that still doesn't bring me the satisfaction that I'm looking for. Okay, so this is what this is now the journey towards karma yoga. You've seen that living righteously is healthy relatively, but even then, you still get impacted by the world. You still get impacted by other people's actions because they are not following Dharma and they happen to be related to you. So now how can you possibly live in a contentful life? Because you do have Arjuna has an association with Duryodhana. That's why he broke down at the battlefield. I mean, of course, he broke down for many more reasons, but one of them in this context is, Krishna, I have lived an honest life. I have pursued Artha and Kama in an honest way. And Dharma is an integral part of my life. But I happen to be associated to people who are also pursuing security and pleasures, but they are all over the place. And that is affecting me. So now, and I can't help them because they have their own kind of path. I have my own path. They don't want to listen to me, but I am connected. So what do? How can I genuinely live life happily if people close to me are not following the rules? It's a very tough position to be in. And everyone's in that position, more or less. Okay? So then what Arjuna has to figure out is the way to come out of this is you have to start asking a different kind of question. And they are, in Vedanta, we call it the 3 pillars. We call it the question about you. Who am I? For a moment, put aside the world. Just who am I? So we talk about the jiva. Am I really this small person? And the answer is no. You are the whole. Then you have to ask the question about the world, the jagat. Is the world really apart from me? And the answer is no, because you grow out of the world as a person. For example, a tree grows out of earth. Person grows out of the earth also. You're like a tree, basically, just able to move. Did you ever think of yourself like a tree? You're a tree with 2 branches, right? 2 branches with legs and able to think. So you're not really different from the world, are you? As a person, as a flesh, as thoughts, it's exactly the same 5 elements as the world is made of. And then you ask the question about Ishvara. Is Ishvara really a different being? Because as long as he is the governor, controller of me, I will forever feel insecure. There's no way that you can, even if you say that I am not different from the world, as long as there's a governor who's looking down on me or from whatever side, or is going to be waiting for me one fine day when I die, then there is absolutely no way you can be contentful with that, because it was always going to be this fear, like, what if God is not happy with my actions and is going to then send me back to the world and say, okay, this time, my dear, you have to get it right. And then you have to be, kind of go before his altar and say, oh Lord, yeah, I'm so sorry for making these mistakes. Please give me a chance to repent and go back down to earth, and I will start to learn proper from age 5. I will not play computer games. I will not play with dolls. I will find the right friends. Please do not send me to this bad place. I need this opportunity, and I promise you I will live righteously. And then the Lord says, okay. And then you start getting, start smoking when you're 5 years old. You start doing some drugs when you're young. And then once again, life after life, you kind of keep on going through this. And then you say, one life, you say, well, I may not kind of remember that this has happened, but suppose it has happened. Suppose you have gone through this cycle of repentance, of coming down and going up. And then you say, so this Ishvara is not really different from me. In terms of knowledge and power, it is total knowledge and power, whereas the individual is a little bit of knowledge and power, manifesting as an individual. That far, I can say there's a difference. But in terms of the essence between the individual and Ishvara, it's one and the same. So essentially, the truth, the understanding is it is one reality appearing as 3 different realities, smaller realities, which are not different. It is one reality appearing as Ishvara, one reality appearing as Jiva, one reality appearing as Jagat. Therefore, Brahman is the reality, which by the power of its, Maya, it appears as 3 different components. And you just have to reconcile that and have a certain relationship with that. On one hand, yes, you understand there's a oneness, but on the other hand, you also have to have a right relationship. Have to play the role as if you are in this world, as if you are breathing air, as if you are thinking, as if you are concerned about your friend, even though all of these things are just appearances of who you are. Okay, so this is the understanding. Now, to get to this understanding, Krishna, in chapter 5 here, he advises 2 paths to make this happen. And the first path is taking the path of a karma yogi, which most of us here will be. Or could we say that perhaps we will now see that sannyasi is not so distanced? Maybe you're a sannyasi already, so we'll find that out. So here, a karma yogi has looked at this dharma and has changed their goal from dharma to moksha. That's the first principle of a karma yogi. Yes, dharma is very important, but ultimately the goal is not dharma. The goal is moksha. So in other words, you continue to play your roles as a karma yogi. However, no longer do you see, or you see less at least, that your children are the source of your contentment. That your job is the source of your contentment or your purpose of life. Having a lot of friends is no longer the purpose of life. Having a healthy body is no longer the purpose of life. Or being, very kind of, being the best something, best dancer, best sports player is no longer the purpose of life. Rather, while playing the role of a dancer, of a sports player, of a mother, of a father, of a husband or a wife, you look at those roles as chances to self-reflect for the sake of moksha. So for example, suppose your kids give you a hard time, which is a normal thing. And now instead of kind of looking at it as, I have to just do my mother role or my father role, now you see that as a chance to see how are you reacting in that moment. And that gives you a chance to change your perception about yourself in the light of the knowledge. So every thus challenge for you now becomes actually a gift. a gift, because in your experience, it's not easy to change unless somebody kind of pokes you a little bit, right? Gives you some needles. Otherwise, you just sort of lived in this perfect world where it's all happy, happy. But until that moment happens, then you don't really know, what's inside you. So it's, in a sense, wonderful to be challenged for a karma yogi. Thereby, a karma yogi, through responses, through things that happen in life, they look at that now as a happening within Ishvara's order. And they say that whatever happens in this world, it's not an accident. There's a cause-effect relationship to it. And because of that fact, I don't take things so personally. It's not an attack upon me. If somebody hurts you, for instance, it's not specifically the world having something against you. And this is very reassuring, actually, because now you live in this world, you're sitting in your chair, in your house, and you say that there's no one out there right now, there's no one out there plotting something against you in this moment. There never was. There never will be. Okay? There is no person or entity waiting, going, come on, just die, and I'm gonna wait and judge you. There's no such entity. So now when you start to look at life like that, you kind of relax a little bit, and you say, there's no entity that's a separate being that's, punishing me or rewarding me. Rather, the being manifests as laws and orders which have to act 24/7. They cannot stop. And so if one of those laws or orders get violated, then the law and order has to restore harmony, because that's the only way to preserve the livelihood of the entire universe. So whenever that order gets violated, such as I do kind of, step on somebody's toes, the order has to automatically revert itself back and continue supplying wellness for all individuals. Now, whenever it flips back to you, that feels like a punishment, but it's actually just an indication telling you that the order has to revert back to its harmonious state. So that's what we call it papam. But actually, for everyone else, it is punyam. You see, if a thief breaks into somebody's house, for the police to catch the thief, that is punyam for you, isn't it? That's a good thing. But for the thief, that is papam. So the police is nothing but Ishvara's order, flipping back an unsettled state of affairs, flipping it back into a state of harmony. And for that person who has caused the order to flip, for them it's papam, but for you, the police is actually Ishvara's punyam. Okay? Thereby, the order has to work for the sake of livelihood. Otherwise, you and I would not be here today. Imagine how many wars have happened, how many misdeeds, how many dictators have lived who, by leaving them alone, if you didn't have an opposition, you would not be born. Your grandparents would be dead by now. That means you would be in with a different parent, in a different house, in a different place. So thank God that all of those things that have been flipped back by the sacrifice of somebody who was in touch with Dharma, which gave you a chance to be here in this peaceful world. Okay? Now, so that is karma yogi. That's the first path. Second path is sannyasi. Sannyasi also, like karma yogi, wants moksha. However, sannyasi has given up the roles that karma yogi is still keeping. Not all roles, but some roles. As I said, if you're retired, you may have given up certain roles, which for the rest of us, we still have to, by our age, have to continue. So a sannyasi we call a relative withdrawal from the world. This is important because we have this idea in our mind that a sannyasi, renunciate, means a total monkhood, nothing, no bank account, zero connection with anyone, just on their own, right? It just means you can still be a karma yogi, but with a relative amount of withdrawal from the world. That makes you essentially a sannyasi and a karma yogi. So what I want to point out is you cannot categorically attribute anyone as an entirely a karma yogi or a sannyasi. You can, in a sense, if you want to take an ochre robe, that's a different case, which we're going to talk about. But for a grihasta, because we're all grihastas now, for a grihasta, you can be, somebody said here, you can be a sannyasi in a grihasta clothing. That's I thought it was just wonderful the way that they phrased it. You are a grihasta, you're a sannyasi in a grihasta clothing. So on the outside, people look at you as a decent person dressed, but inside you are just the way that you are. It's not like you're trying to stay away from things. It's just the way that you are. You're okay being generally alone, spending a lot of time on your own by yourself. You're okay with having your own kind of immersion in your world of studies, in your world of creation or whatever it is, painting or art. You're okay with that. But some people are not. Some people genuinely need others to thrive. They need company. They need children. They need, kind of spouse to thrive. We can also say that sometimes you can have both. You can be thriving by yourself at moments, but the other moments you just want to be with somebody else. So that way you cannot quite categorically say you're entirely sannyasi or you're entirely a grihasta. It's more like you're both. Okay. So Krishna says categorically here, karma yoga is better. Why? Because, as we said, sannyasi seems easier on the surface. You basically relinquish a number of duties in your life and focus on the knowledge. However, Krishna says, actually, even though that seems easier, karma yoga, the life of activity, while being immersed in the self-knowledge, is ultimately better. Why? Because you will use this instrument and expose it to the world. And the world always tests you. It throws you things. It tries to throw you off your center. And whenever that happens, that is like just a God-sent gift. Okay, here it is. It's happened. Now let's bring all my emotional EQ teachings, IQ in this moment and resolve this to the best of my ability. So that means you get a chance to practice. What more can you ask than that? Ishvara is giving you a practice life, a life of practice. So you say, okay, well, wonderful. Then that makes karma yoga, a kind of, a very tempting option to embrace completely. And now without it, suppose you don't have this world testing you and you go into sannyasa, then what might happen? Well, you might find that the world becomes a source of conflict for you. And somebody is a little bit loud, or they're, not they have their windows too wide open. You want them closed. They open it. You want them closed. So small things become big things for you. And you find yourself in conflict with small things. And how many small things are there every single day? Dozens, right? So this means the world living becomes a source of frustration. So this means as a karma yoga, because you have been in these moments of breakups, of negotiation, of conflict, you were forced to resolve it. And whenever you're forced to resolve things, isn't it true that next time, tomorrow, it becomes, there's something in you that comes from experience, how to deal with this matter? Absolutely. Like, what more can you ask than that? So it's almost like you say, okay, in the moment, it may not be like dazzling to go through a conflict, but when you go through a conflict, there's a certain kind of experience that is absolutely invaluable tomorrow. And experience by experience, you find yourself becoming a calmer person, a less activated person, a more discerning person, kind of a more, just friendlier that people want to be around. And then you say, wow, what's like, I like you. How did you come to this place? And you generally say, I don't know. But the truth is, you went through hardships, and hardships taught you lessons, and lessons polished out your angularities. Okay. And that's what people notice. They say you're a very polished out person. You're polished. I like that about you. But this person, they got too many edges. I go near and I get poked, like walking on eggshells. So this is the benefits of karma yoga. Okay. Also, one more thing is, if you look at the statement, of the two, performance of action as yoga, karma yoga, is better than renunciation. These are Krishna's words. So what's important is Krishna is actually not praising sannyasa. He's not praising sannyasa as a lifestyle. He's only saying it is a possibility. He's saying that karma yoga is better than sannyasa without the necessary preparation. If you choose between the two, how do I live in this world? How do I just, if you were to ask yourself, give me a way to live that I can just settle, and I know that that way is the best possible way for me. Krishna outright says, sannyasa is an option, but I, as the Lord, am not praising it. What am I praising, says the Lord? I'm praising karma yoga. Why? Because karma yoga, a life of a householder who is involved in the world, will give you that place of purifying your angularities, of polishing your your personality. So this means that a sannyasi doesn't necessarily mean they're more spiritual, because as I was speaking of future verses, we can have a sannyasi who hasn't gone through this journey. They took premature sannyasa. We're now talking about an ochre robe, and they come with their own pressures. And those pressures end up causing problems with students and teachers. So you have a little bit of a tussle between them because you just didn't have that chance, understandably so, to work out and be challenged in the world. Because by the time you take sannyasa, it's not proper for people to challenge you anymore. It's just, you don't do that to a sannyasi, right? You respect them, you say, wow, you took this ochre robe, and you don't kind of give them challenges anymore. So their life becomes very kind of, not so preoccupied with these, little confrontations. And thereby they don't get a chance to develop something that a grihasta can develop. So you might be surprised that a grihasta can actually grow much faster than a sannyasi. So, saying that, Krishna is now changing the topic, and he wants to ask, who is a true sannyasi? Okay, so I'll give a little context here. So far, we're talking about the word sannyasi. Sannyasi, one who is able to let go. So far, I said that one can also be a grihasta. Okay, you're able to let go. And what does it mean to let go? We'll speak more about this. It's basically changing your relationship to things. However, now he wants to say, who is an absolute sannyasi? If you want to call yourself sannyasi, like, who is that one? What defines a true sannyasi? So we will see this in verse 3. Jneyasa nitya sannyasi yo nadveshti nakankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
The person who neither hates nor longs for anything should be known as always a renunciate. Arjuna, the mighty armed, one who is free from the opposites, likes and dislikes, is indeed effortlessly released from bondage.
So neither hates nor longs, and free from opposites. These two are the defining factors of a true sannyasi. So verse 3 is interesting because it wants to redefine what this word renunciate means. Sannyasi means renunciate, letting go. And it changes our perception from looking at the word renunciate from external renunciation. This is how we think of a common renunciate, don't we? We think of renouncing your bank account, renouncing your children, renouncing your house, renouncing everything, maybe a stick and ochre robe. So it changes your definition from external renunciation, which is giving up actions, duties, possessions, to internal freedom. And what is internal freedom for Krishna here, according to his words? Relinquishing or releasing yourself from the spell of likes and dislikes. Okay, so we need to speak about this. So in other words, true sannyasi, what is a true sannyasi? One who is the power of letting go in a healthy manner. What is it? It is not going, I have too many things in my house. It is really just having a relationship with the things, seeing them as useful, but there is no real kind of attachment to them. There's a certain kind of relationship that you have to things. So you're gaining inner mastery. So we'll speak more about this. Let me give us an example. Who used to play with balloons when you were small? Helium balloons, right? Dolls, cars, little cars. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, me too. Cars. Electronics. Motors used to take engines apart and then put them back together. That was my thing. My parents bought me a remote control car. Within 1 hour, it was in 50 pieces on the floor. And I put it back together. It was very interesting. Okay. Now, is your relationship still the same? How is your relationship now to those things? Do you still have balloons in your house? You still have a helium big container? Still play with dolls? Maybe, but mostly not, right? Cool. So that makes you a true sannyasi. Let's talk about that. Did you, quote, let go? Were you forced to let go of your balloons? Did someone point a gun to your head and say, let go of these balloons, it's time to mature up? No. What happened? How did you come out of this? Balloons, dolls, and cars. What happened? You grew out of it, isn't it? Did you announce it? Did you go to the world? Hey, by the way, yesterday I was into cars and I finally got the courage to move out. I am now a free man. Did you announce it to the world? No. It was a very quiet, natural exit. Okay, without any announcement. You don't throw the garbage last week and you say, hey, by the way, I threw the garbage away last week. I threw the garbage away last week. What does that mean?
But
Sorry?
isn't it being replaced with something else?
You replaced with something.
It's like the toy cars replaced with real cars kind of thing.
Okay, that's a good point, for sure. Yes, so the point is you grow out of things. Eventually, maybe even grow out of big cars, right? There are monks, some of the monks, who are afraid of women. Why would you be afraid of women? They're just Ishvara in a form of a woman. Well, because they have given up woman. Ah, you've given up woman. You haven't really grown out of your whole kind of infatuation. You've just given it up. And so if you give things up, if you let them go unnaturally, then what happens is you live in fear, because there's always a chance of it coming back into your life and you being caught up in it again. So we're not speaking about letting go for the sake of, I have to because an institution told me. We're talking about you, by your own self-reflection, have come to see that this is no longer my thing. I grew out of it. So whatever you grow out of, naturally, you're not afraid of anymore. You can now go back in the world, surround yourself with women. You're not afraid. There's no kind of temptation. But if I just sort of move myself away and I say to the world, I have moved away, I've let go the world of whatever it is, then they say, wow, congratulations. But let me show you a little bit of that. And you're like, whoa, no, keep it away from me. Are you truly free in that moment? Can you be truly free? In other words, I'm offered Ishvara in a form of money, in a form of food, in a form of whatever it is, and I'm pushing, I say, no, stay away from me because I fear that I might snatch it any moment. That is not freedom. So we're not speaking of that kind of freedom. We're speaking about not hating, not dveshti. So what is true freedom or relative freedom here? This is talking about relative freedom. Not dveshti. Neither hating. When you hate is what you fear. What you fear is what you hate. They're one and the same thing. Suppose that you're preoccupied with somebody who's hurt you deeply, and you feel like you were treated unfairly. Okay, it's possible. And suppose you're nursing resentment, and sort of that thing comes back to you every once in a while. Okay, now that's called hating. That means you're still ruminating on it in a displeasant fashion. That's what hating really means. Ruminating in an unpleasant fashion. Now, how do you correct this? Suppose somebody has hurt you and you keep on ruminating every once in a while. What you can do is you can understand that that person is not, absolutely dishonest. They're not absolutely judgmental. They're not absolutely angry. They're not absolutely whatever it is, because no person is absolutely dishonest, if you think about it. Are they? They're dishonest in everything? No. So this means that that person who you have a so-called hate for, we call it, dislike for, that person, you have to just re-look at them in a proper light and say that this person is actually kind towards others, just not towards me. But does that make them absolutely unkind? No. So you need to remind yourself this once in a while, because it's very tempting to attribute one label onto a person and then walk away happily as if you solved the mysteries of life. You haven't. You've just self-soothed for a moment, but the reality is that person is very kind towards their neighbors and somebody else. Second thing you have to realize is every person is changing. So while they may have hurt you deeply in the past, within 5 or 10 or 15 years, that person has in some way changed because they recognized most likely their errors. And you have to just give them the benefit of a doubt that they will not remain like this forever. So if you bring these two teachings, then you can greatly help yourself by relinquishing this, letting go of this hatred towards people that have hurt you. So what I would like us to do now, a little exercise, okay? So relax and take a deep breath. And I want you to visualize, maybe close your eyes, visualize all the people in your life with whom, put them in front of you, have had some conflict with, and just put them in front of you. See them as clearly as you can. Maybe the clothes they're wearing, their face, and they're all kind of on the stage that's well illumined. They have hurt you, they have said something that's unfair, or they have treated you harshly, that you kind of felt it was too much. And I want you to now look at one person and find them who has made you really hurt, who tends to come to your mind often. I want you to pinpoint that person and face them. And they're now looking at you, and you're looking at them from top, and they're looking at you, they're looking up at you. Now say to them, "Thank you, teacher. Thank you for making me who I am today. May your life be blessed." Again, say to them, "Thank you, teacher. May your life be blessed. May your life be well. Thank you." Okay, now find a second person who also comes to your mind. In fact, maybe you want to prostrate to the first person, bow, and they also bow to you. You see that? They're bowing to you, you're bowing to them. Okay, now move to the second person, pinpoint, maybe from the past, or from the present. And just smile at them, and you see them smiling at you. And just do a prostration to them. Look at them deeply into the eyes and see them, see their goodness, their innocent nature, that unhurt child, that unhurt innocent child. Maybe you see them eyes shining and they smile at you and you smile at them. Maybe they start to cry a little bit. They couldn't express that hurt, but their tears speaks louder, and you see that in their tears. And you prostrate to them, say, thank you. Thank you for teaching me. And they also say, thank you for teaching me to you. Okay. So you can come back. Okay, so this is about releasing that hatred, or, you know, that sense of, you know, just unnecessary pain that is inflicted upon you every once in a while when they come to your mind. So just let go of that. Now, not longing. So this sannyasi, which is called a true sannyasi, nakankshati, neither longing. To long for something. What does it mean to long for something? I'm longing for. I'm ruminating upon. Okay, both of them are ruminating. Dislike is a ruminating in a kind of a darker fashion. Longing is ruminating in a, you know, like a smiley fashion, in a like, wow, you know, I'm ruminating. So both of them are just ruminating, and they take up a lot of your mental space. So neither longing too much. See, what happens if you long on someone for too long, then that can turn into dependence, because everyone ultimately wants to feel secure and feel good about their life and themselves. And the fastest way to get that is through people, isn't it? Through relationships. And what happens is those relationships can become a source of dependence for you. You may not even realize it, but in some way they have kind of crept themselves in your life, where you think that you are truly independent, but ultimately you are you're silently, you know, getting a lot of confidence and security from certain people in your life. And that's okay. We're not saying that's right or wrong. What becomes an issue is self-deception. Self-deception is when you say to yourself and to the world, I am an independent person and I don't need anyone. But actually, through your behaviors, which are small, you are just like everyone else. That's the problem. So let me say this again. There's nothing wrong with depending upon people, having attachments towards your children and loved ones, and self-knowledge and Vedanta. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is called self-deception. When you use this knowledge and then you make it into this identity thing for yourself, and then you start to say things that the scriptures start to say. I am the whole, I am independent, I don't need anyone, I am not afraid of death, you know, I am, I am Brahman. But inside, you're actually just like everyone else. Self-deception, that's a problem. So the least that you can do is be honest to yourself and say, you know what, I want to understand this. Yes, I am Brahman. My true nature is awareness, but also I do feel fear towards death. I do, I do get confidence from my friends. I do get confidence from Vedanta. I do get confidence from people that are in my life. That is wonderful. If you can do that, I applaud you. Hats off, because that is self-honesty that very few are willing to do nowadays. but I encourage everyone just to be honest. There's no need to pretend. The only person that's going to be hurt by self-deception is yourself. So be honest. Let that be like a defining attribute of who you are. Self-honesty, at least towards yourself, where you stand. If you're a sannyasi, you're able to let go of things, but still be honest that, you know what, I may not let go of everything. I probably never will, until the last breath. When it's time to go, then, likely as you see people, in their last breath, they're kind of settled with that fact that it's time to let go of everything. So that's okay. You can wait till that day. Until then, be honest where you stand. Now, there are two kinds of letting goes or sannyasis. And I want to be very clear here to help you see that you cannot categorically call someone a sannyasi and then put them into a box. Okay. So the two kinds of sannyasis is a nitya sannyasi. Nitya sannyasi means they are always a sannyasi all the time. That means they truly, this is the kind of that you see with an ochre robe, with no bank account, total dependence on a society. The only relationship you have is between you and yourself and the Lord, and you are able to. You just don't need. You don't need, anyone. You're totally immersed in the knowledge. This is verse 3. So verse 3 is talking about a true sannyasi, a nitya sannyasi. Now, for the most of us, are we going to be in this category? Does anyone not have a bank account here? Is someone logged in from a tent? Walked in somebody's house? Can I just borrow your Zoom? Okay, so I mean, you haven't really relinquished a lot. Okay, so nitya sannyasi. I don't think there will be a nitya sannyasi in my class. However, even a nitya sannyasi can be split into two categories. The first is called vividdhisha sannyasi, and the second one is called vidvat sannyasi. So what is vividdhisha sannyasi? They are the ones who have relinquished everything, okay? Ochre robe. But when you look at them, you might think they know who they are. They don't. This is called a vividdhisha sannyasi. That means they're still in the process of understanding the knowledge. The second kind of nitya sannyasi is a vidvat sannyasi. Vidvat is the knower of knowledge, knower of Brahman. They also have an ochre robe, no bank account, but understood who they are. They're most likely teaching by now. Okay, so this means the first is nitya. Nitya means always. Nitya sannyasi, always a renunciate. And this one is split into two categories, vidvat and vividdhisha sannyasi. The second category is called kadachitika sannyasi. Kadachitika sannyasi. This is where you're sometimes a sannyasi, a renunciate, and sometimes you're not. For instance, in meditation, you say to your loved one, hey, I'm just going to go to meditate. And you do. And in that moment of meditation, you feel like, I don't need anyone. I am free. I am whole. I am complete. And you come out of meditation and you're still in that state, or maybe you come out of ayahuasca or something, right? And you're like, you don't need to talk to anyone. You're totally with yourself, totally introverted. You're at peace with everything for a while. Until 5 hours later, you come out of it, like, hey, let's watch something. Come on, let's do something. And you're back into the square one. So everyone ultimately is here going to be a kadachitika sannyasi. Sometimes you are just like, just leave me alone. I am okay. Oh, I love my alone time. I love my alone time. Alone time is gone. Let's go back together. Okay. This is the second kind of sannyasi. It's momentary. Sometimes you feel full. Sometimes you go back into the world. So you can argue that kadachitika sannyasi is a karma yogi for the most part. Let's talk about something more practical. And what is it that binds you to this world? Because both of these, if you think about them, are, able to manage their desires, have a relationship with the world in the right way. So the question then is, what then ends up binding you to the world? Is it things in this world? Is it, Is it your house? Is it your car? Is it the people that you're with? Is it really that? Think about it. Is it really events that bind you? Is it really people that you're with that bind you? No, it cannot be. Otherwise, the only way to get rid of them is just to get rid of them, right? That's not going to be a very productive world. It's never external things that bind you. Then what is it then? It's your state of mind, your relationship to things that end up binding you. Can we all testify to this in your experience? Okay, because you can very much be away from something, but then now you're binded by the fact that there's a bird that keeps on, a woodpecker keeps on, knocking the tree. You're like, oh, it's the woodpecker's fault. And then you get rid of the woodpecker. And now you have to deal with the guilt of getting rid of the woodpecker. So there's always something new that you have to deal with. So it's not about external thoughts, are also external things. It's about your attitude. So the question is then, how do you manage these ragas and dveshas, these likes and dislikes? Because Krishna said, who is a true sannyasi? One who neither hates nor longs, that means ruminates constantly to the point where they cannot let go of things. So then how do you come to that place? So we need to be practical. The first is, what about not acting upon them? Let me give you an example. Suppose that there is a conflict going on at work or at home. Okay, common thing. And in you, there's a dislike for not stating your boundaries because you like to keep the status quo. Common thing too, isn't it? Because you know that if you shake things up a little bit, there's danger of end of a relationship or compromise of something that's been developed for a long time. That's true. And you don't want to stir the boat. So what you do is you stir the boat. Is it easy? It's not easy at all. But when you state your boundaries anyway, and it takes some courage to do this, and you state what needs to be said, and you do it in a polite fashion without causing too much drama, then when you walk away, you realize that have I not done this, I would have lost the strength that I otherwise gained, having gone through this uncomfortable moment. Can you relate to this? When you have put yourself through a hard moment, which you didn't want to go through, and by the end of the other side, you said, if I didn't go through this, I would have never gained the strength that I have now, the confidence that I have having gone through this. So every single time you say no, it might be more comfortable, isn't it? But you miss out on the strength that you otherwise would have gained if you took the moment to be uncomfortable and go ahead anyway. So you have to now decide, what do you want? Do you want comfort and things to continue the same? And for them to continue, poking you every once in a while, just taking it? Or there is that moment of risk of shaking things up, stirring things up, and stating what you really want to state. There is no guarantee that the relationship will be healthy afterwards. In fact, I can, from my own life, had people where I had to state my boundaries. The relationship got too close, and I had to state, I'm a teacher. I'm not, I'm not your boyfriend. And when I said that, the person left. They never again came back. So, and I lost a close friend, but I did what needs to be done. So this means I stated my boundaries, but there's no guarantee that the relationship will continue. However, the strength gained afterwards was immense. So that's one option. Suppose your raga, your like, demands comfort. For example, you want a morning routine and you want to wake up early. Anyone wants to wake up earlier here? Just a little bit earlier, 10 minutes? Okay, cool. Just 10 minutes earlier. Okay, so suppose you have a like for comfort. So this is, you do the opposite. So everyone has a like for comfort. So what you do is, okay, so definitely want to stay home and, in that little warm, comfortable, go nowhere kind of blanket over me, especially in a cold winter in Melbourne. But what you do is you say, what is important? What do I want? I want, healthy, body. I want exercise, and I have 1 to 10 minutes more study time. So you do the extraordinarily hard of just doing it anyway. Just roll yourself off the bed, fall on the floor. Okay, do whatever, and then just bang, right? Do whatever is necessary to help yourself. So you're doing the opposite. So if you have a like for comfort, do the opposite. If you have a like for discomfort, like setting boundaries, nobody likes that. Nobody likes to, set boundaries because it's uncomfortable. You still do the opposite. So that's one way. The second way is you outgrow through knowledge your likes and dislikes. This is called growing out of your likes and dislikes. For instance, one way that I've done it in my life, in my 20s, was, you see, nobody remembers their past lives, do you? Nobody has memories of that. However, you can infer that you have done many things in your past lives. So this means, see, the scriptures always speak about dispassion. Vairagyam and viveka are the two big parts of sadhana chatushtaya. Okay? And one of the big ways that I've done vairagyam, dispassion, was simply to infer that whatever I'm about to do, I've already done before. So there's no point doing it. And that made me very focused on what I really want to do. I said, okay, what's really important is this and this and this, but this and this, like traveling here, traveling there, just go on YouTube and look up, whatever you want to go and save yourself the ticket price of the plane. But you've probably already been everywhere. You've been to every loka, you've been to heaven, you've been to hell, you've been to Brahmaloka, probably not Brahmaloka, you've been to Swarga, you've been everywhere, right? So you can just infer, though I don't remember, because you're not supposed to remember, most likely I have played every single role available. I've been a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a cousin, a nephew. I've been a worker, an architect, a dinosaur expert, an electrician. I've been, a guard, a president. I've been this and that. And what has all of that given me? One more life. Okay, so then if I want to do the same again, then naturally it stands to reason, let's actually get serious now. Let's get serious into the studies. And so that kept me very focused. So you don't have to believe in past lives, but still it's amazing how these teachings can keep you on track if you just reframe them in a way that helps you. That's the point. Okay, so outgrowing through knowledge. Another way through knowledge is recognize you're full. You're already full and complete, and ultimately you don't really need this because this is all an appearance in you. We said the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, they're appearances of this one reality, which you happen to be. So that's another way through knowledge by which you can reduce this impact of likes and dislikes. In other words, there's nothing to like and dislike here, end of the day. It's just a name and form of the one reality. That's another way through knowledge, okay? So you have lots of these wonderful ways to help you to just balance out likes and dislikes. Now, one more thing I want to say, likes and dislikes, are we implying that you're not supposed to have them? Not at all. There's a like for Vedanta. There's a like for truth. There's a dislike for dishonesty. That's healthy. There's a dislike for kind of having your time wasted. That's also, a valid form of dislike. So we're not saying get rid of your likes and dislikes. We're just saying that channel your likes and dislikes into the right causes, into something that's more mature. Like Ellie said, from toy cars into, cars that actually transport you from A to B for the sake of working, doing something that's useful. Okay. So likes and dislikes, nothing wrong with them. Just channel them in the right manner. This is the right way to live. Okay. And then who else is a true sannyasi? The one who has nirdvandvaha. What this means is they have freedom from black or white thinking. This is very important. Such as, who has said here, like you just made this categorical statement, I will never attain moksha in this lifetime. Nirdvandvaha, that's black or white thinking. Somebody else says, I will attain moksha in this lifetime. Somebody says, you're spiritual. You're material. The world is material. We're spiritual. That's black or white thinking. Somebody else says, she hates me. or she loves me. Is it that simple? She hates me or she loves me? Are you kidding me? Is a human being that black or white? You hate me? What do you mean by hate or love, in other words? And you can also have, I am both hated and loved at the same time. You can have, I am loved sometimes, I'm hated other times. You can have any one of those combinations at any one moment. So freedom from black, or freedom from the need to feel a sense of accomplishment by boxing things up and then walking away. That's what makes you a true sannyasi. That means the moment you recognize that it's not serving you, then you can let go, because it's not serving you to keep on categorizing yourself as, I will never attain moksha. Who are you to say that? What's going to happen 5 minutes from now? What kind of thoughts are you going to have 5 minutes from now, please? Anyone know? Nobody knows. If I don't even know 5 minutes from now what to say, what gives me the right to say I will not, attain moksha, or I will attain moksha? Just, that's not even a question. Just get down with the teaching and do as the teaching is asking. That's all. Not even waste time worrying about moksha. That's none of my business. If that was my business, I would have done it yesterday. Okay? But it's not. My business is to have the teaching in front of me, to bring it into my life, as many areas as I can, whenever it's possible, and let that teaching slowly change you. That's, as far as concerned, that is my job. Not dveshti, neither hating. That means not ruminating on things that you don't like constantly. Not kankshati, not ruminating constantly on things that you do like. Otherwise, if you are, then you can reframe it. You can see that, not everyone is always evil or bad or stupid. People are stupid in some areas. They're very smart in other areas. They're very kind and gentle in some places. In some places, they're very kind of short-tempered. You can also see that, every person is limited knowledge with limited power. So nobody knows everything. You don't know everything. And for that reason, both will make errors in their dealings with the world. And also nirdvandvaha, freedom from this need to say that this teacher is like this teacher is like that, this student is like that. Who are you to know everything about them? It's almost like you're an expert now. No one's an expert at anyone. We're not even experts at our own bodies, are we? Now suddenly I'm an expert at you who I barely know, and I don't even know myself. Okay, so there's an agreement that you have to come to eventually and say, whenever I catch myself putting the world, or whatever it is, parents, friends, colleagues, teachers, into these black or white categories, I have to stop for a moment and just appreciate they are trying. Okay, they're doing the best that they can with the knowledge and the resources that they have, with the little bit of, they're at least doing something. They're a contributor to the world in their own way. And that's all we can do as human beings. You can contribute in some way. No way is going to be perfect. Everyone's going to have some flaws, some, pet peeves, and you just have to be kind of okay with that. So this is an agreement that you have to, kind of have with yourself every once in a while, so that your mind doesn't take you off for a ride. So before moving to the next verse, ask yourself, is there some person in my life towards which I have a pet peeve for? I think pet peeve is the right word. An annoyance for. If yes, put them on the stage of visualization and do that exercise. One more chance. Put them on the stage one more time. Find that person. See their hair, their wrinkles, their eyes, the clothing. And say, thank you, teacher, for making me this person. Thank you. May your life be blessed. And then do a little namaste to them. And they also do one to you. Okay, so this is an exercise that you can do any moment, except when driving. Now, verse 4 and 5. Sankhya yoga pratag balaha pravadantina panditaha ekam apyastita samyag ubhayor vindate palam yat sankhyai prapyate sthanam tad yogair api gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha yaf pashyati sapashyati.
Children, those who do not know, but not the wise, argue that knowledge and karma yoga are different. The person who follows even one of the two properly gains the results of both. The end, moksha, that is gained by the sannyasins is also reached by the karma yogins. The one who sees knowledge and karma yoga as one, that person alone sees the truth.
Balaha, common word in the scriptures, children. Why do they use children? Because children do not, they have partial understanding of the world, and they often get convinced that's the full understanding. So the children, not the wise, so we're speaking of children here, argue between themselves that knowledge and karma yoga are different. Okay, so essentially what it's saying is they spend time not learning, not dedicating to one teaching, having your head down and just getting into the teaching. Instead, I spend time going on forums and saying how I become the spiritual policeman. Like, you got it wrong. This is how it is. This is better. This is wrong. Let me make a correction. So this is what they do for the most part. And for instance, they will study the Shastra and they will know what it says, but not what it means. So, for instance, suppose a father tells to a child, money is dangerous. And then the child, trusting the father who represents the scriptures, goes out and starts to, with a clarion call, say money is dangerous, money is dangerous, money is dangerous. Is that a person that you want to listen to? No. Who do you want to listen to? Somebody who says money is dangerous if used irresponsibly. Does that make more sense now? Of course. Money is dangerous if used irresponsibly. Now, who adds if used irresponsibly? The scriptures or the person with experience? The person with experience. So this means if a teacher just takes a scriptural statement and starts to just give you quotes, then okay, you'll get half teachings for sure. But if they come from an experience, a certain kind of discernment in real life, day-to-day transactions, they can then offer you that, if used irresponsibly, the crucial part that makes the whole statement correct. So that's the difference between an experienced teacher and an inexperienced teacher. So when it says here children, what do? They just take the first half, and though it is true, it is as good as meaningless, because it doesn't have contextual meaning in the modern world. You have to have the ability to change it slightly so that it talks to a modern man or woman. And if you cannot do that, then it becomes a possible a damaging statement rather than a statement that's going to help you. What's another example of a damaging statement? If you don't put context, a sannyasi is one who renounces everything. Okay, so and sannyasi is one who is dedicated to the knowledge. So therefore, if I want to dedicate myself to the knowledge, what do I have to do? Renounce everything. That's dangerous. So the teacher has to say and then give you some context, like, oh, wait, for some people, this is okay because that's their personality. They come with a certain impression from past life. Others, they have a need for variety. Okay, if you're a sannyasi, basically your life is just going to be study. Can someone here just study 24/7? Any hands up? Where all you do is just study. Study. You're totally immersed in knowledge and you're able to focus for hours a day. Not one person, and that's human. However, what you can do is you can study, but you also like to go to a restaurant, like to go to the ocean, to the beach, talk gossip once in a while, even though it's probably not, not healthy, but that's okay. You like to watch this, you like to do that. So a variety of things makes up your life, and that's okay too. So there's no wrong here. It's not a question of right or wrong. It's just a question of keep your eye on the knowledge, but also help yourself, right? Live out your life in a way that helps you, don't just throw these things out and just because the scriptures say that. You have to still look at your own life in the context of that. If that is what they say, that they argue between knowledge and karma yoga, what Krishna then says, what we then say is, it's not that black or white. The nuance is that both sannyasa and karma yoga are fruitless without knowledge. That's the first point. Karma yoga, just for the sake of doing it for service of the Lord, it's fruitless ultimately. It just gives you one more birth. So you have to say, for the sake of the Lord, for the sake of purifying my mind, for the sake of moksha. The second is that karma yoga provides you factors in life, which when you rub against them, what happens? You grow. But sannyasa, does it do that? Probably yes, but a lot less. Okay, therefore, so now, which is okay, because some people don't need to rub against the world. Some people already come very mature. Have you ever met a very mature person and very young? Yeah, like where did they get that from? Right? And you're like 20, 30 years older, and you're like, my goodness, this person is like 20 or 30 years younger, and they're ahead of me. How is it possible? Because they come with that predisposition, which is okay. So for them, sannyasi could be okay. Here's another nuance. Is karma yoga easy? Is sannyasa easy? No matter what path you take, it's not easy. So instead of just saying which is better, karma yoga is better, sannyasa is better, no. You don't even go into that argument. You just talk about the nuances, and those nuances come from, if used responsibly, come from experience. Now, I want to give you a very interesting ritual, which is how you take a sannyasa. Have you ever wondered what happens when you take an ochre robe? How do you actually get one? I'll take you through the journey to appreciate one with an ochre robe in India. So the night before you take a sannyasa, you chant the Gayatri mantra all night long. And the reason you do this is to, help yourself to see that I will be led in the right direction, and I will not allow my thoughts to infringe upon my freedom to pursue this knowledge. So you keep on saying this all night long, that all that matters here is just being guided in the right direction. That's the first thing. Now, the next morning, you wake up and you go to a river. And any sacred river, could be Yamuna, could be often it's Ganga. And you declare to Ishvara that from this moment on, I only have one goal. Only one goal, to know you, Ishvara. Now, what do you think the river signifies? Because you do say this while standing in a river. What does the river do? Takes away all your roles, your identity, all your names. Like I said, it's a symbolism. So I only wish to know you from now on, Ishvara, and that's my only purpose for being alive. Then you go through a third process called abhayam. Abhayam is where you make a, how do you call it? A kind of a statement, a deal. It's not really a deal, it's a statement to the gods and to all creatures. And you say that I am in competition with nobody. I will reduce hurt and harm as much as I can. And I'm not here to gain power, to gain fame, to steal fame from other beings. I'm just here to understand the knowledge and to teach it, if that is to be my path. So that's the third process. And then you go through, finally tell Ishvara, I've now severed all ties with everyone, with everything, with my family, with my house, with my bank account. I have no other relationship except between me and you. And from now on, Lord, I let you provide me the food in the form of people, of course, alms, bhiksha. in the form of clothing, in the form of care. I have no more, ownership of this. You take care of me. But my relationship from now on is only between me and you. And then you get sannyasa. However, that's just the beginning. Okay, suppose you do get alms and you get people, give you what you need. The real growth for a sannyasi is when they start to teach. Because when you start to teach Vedanta, something happens. You start to see massive gaps in your knowledge that you never thought you had. Because other people are smart and they have, been in these teachings for a long time. And all your intimidations, insecurities start to come out. And you kind of develop, like an extra sensory perception, because you have to be very careful what words come out of your mouth, what you say, when's the right time to say things. So all these insecurities come out, and you have to address that as soon as possible, because you cannot continue teaching if you're yourself, ridden by all these fears and, insecurities. So teaching is very, very hard. One other reason is because, see, in every single subject matter, the student comes in with a neutral ground. They don't have any preconceived notions. If you want to learn about cosmology, you don't have any preconceived notions. You just come in blank slate. Every single subject matter is like that, like mathematics or so on. But when a student comes to Vedanta, every single student has already an idea or something to say about Ishvara. God doesn't exist. Here's what Brahman is. God exists. Brahman is this and that. And Jiva and Jagat. Every single person is going to have an opinion. And those opinions you have to drill hard through. And when you try to do that, some people will reject you because they're so in their mode of being convinced already that now when somebody does reject you, what happens is you feel that because you have a human heart. And if you're not careful, then you'll take it personally. Say, what have I done wrong? Because people are leaving. And now you have to now figure out, am I saying something wrong? Am I saying it too fast, too slow, too early, too late? Are they coming from their own issues? And it's a constant tug of war that you have to play with for several years until you realize that people come with their own stuff. And that's just how it is. And you have to be okay. Where now if somebody leaves, okay, it's unfortunate, but you carry on doing your work. It doesn't affect you as much as before. So teaching is a privilege or a great thing to do. However, it's the fastest way to mature, to understand the knowledge, to fill in all your gaps, but it's also the hardest job. There's zero investment or reason to teach, and yet you're supposed to teach, address your stuff, address everybody else's issues, and keep on doing that for years and years and years without getting anything in return. So see why it's not easy. However, the benefit that you get is more than you can probably do in your own life. 20 lifetimes, you can probably get more benefits teaching. So that's up to the person. Okay, so teaching is not a matter of I want to teach. It's just a matter of coming with a what we call a samskara for teaching. If you come with a samskara for teaching, where you're a natural person that's able to communicate ideas and you want to do that, then that sannyasi or that person will most likely teach. So it's not something that you choose as an occupation. It's something that it's almost like you're chosen based on your predisposition. Okay. Therefore, I want to close this by giving an honor and respect to all sannyasis, because you see, all teachers are really just teaching artha, kama, and dharma. But what does a sannyasi do? They teach moksha. So they're the ones who are going through these, these times where they don't get recognition, but they are quietly preserving this most important tradition for everyone. Not every, sannyasi, they all have their own issues, as all grihastas have their own issues. But you also have to give them credit, for doing, so much for this tradition. And this will continue, hopefully, for many years to come. Therefore, summary. Every path you choose comes with challenges. Grahasta has many challenges as a sannyasi. And the second of all is it's not a matter of which one is better, but which is better for me. And hopefully now that is very clear and nobody's still thinking of running off to the mountains. Are you? Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.